to Canadian Coffee House Crime. My name is Catherine, and I just moved to the amazing Jasper, Alberta, and I work at Marmot Basin Ski Hill right now. Only 2 more weeks of skiing, and we're closed for this summer. Boo. My last case was from the Haunted Canada Stamp and Coin series from the Canadian Mint collection, The Ghost Bride from the Banff Springs Hotel in Alberta. I thought I would cover all the little stories from the Haunted Canada collection. This case takes us to Saskatchewan for the ghost train of St. Louis. St. Louis, Saskatchewan is a small village 100 kilometers northeast of Saskatoon and 30 kilometers south of Prince Albert. It has a population of 450 people. The first settlers set up around 1880. In 1914, the railway went through St. Louis, connecting Prince Albert and Waltrus. The St. Louis Bridge was constructed for the train and still serves St. Louis to this day. St. Louis was incorporated as a village in 1959. In 1836, the first train ran in Canada between Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and La Prairie near Montreal. CFB Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu is the location of the Canadian Armed Forces Basic Training Centre for all of Canada. For all of you that have been to the Meg, it still gives me the creeps too. Hooah! In 1919, the CN Railway incorporated when the company bought up all the bankrupt small train companies. It is the longest railway system in North America, controlling more than 31,000 kilometers of track in Canada and the United States. Bill Gates is the largest stockholder of CN Railway. As I said, the railway started passing through St. Louis in 1914. The story goes like this. In 1919, CN was amalgamating its bankrupt companies and becoming a corporation. There were employees, but the employees were not being logged at the time. In 1920, there was a steam train passing through St. Louis. The conductor got off his train to do a routine check of the tracks. The track was dark. The steam had its beam shining up the track, rolling through the Saskatchewan prairies. The conductor had his lantern with him that glowed red, and he walked beside and in front of his train, checking his track. The legend states that while the conductor was walking in front of the train on the track, he leaned over to the side to peek at the other track beside him. He was apparently beheaded by a passing train on the track beside him. Another theory states the conductor fell and the train reversed over him. Yet another theory was the man was a drunken brakeman who lost his head to a passing train. Now, there were many employees of the Canadian National Railway at this time, but when the employees started being logged is really not clear. So the name of the missing employee has never been documented, so there isn't any hard proof to this story. According to research, this is about the time the ghost train started to appear. The legend states that the conductor is still looking for his lost head a century later, even though the tracks between Prince Albert and St. Louis have been removed years ago. The property is privately owned, so it cannot be promoted as a tourist attraction, but on Halloween there is a recreation ghost train for 3 hours that departs from Waka. Many people stop by on many occasions to witness the phenomenon. According to witnesses, the ghost light appears out of nowhere, either day or night, on a regular basis. The light usually looks like a bright white train headlight, sometimes accompanied by a small red light that bounces as if it's a lantern being carried by someone walking in front of the train. The lights can come from either direction of the invisible track. One couple states that they have seen the lights 50 times since they have been together at high school. People have seen it hundreds of times and in groups. Locals use the area as a party spot. Sometimes the police are called to break up bonfire get-togethers. There was a few people in Saskatchewan who decided to check it out one night. They drove 130 kilometers north of St. Louis to the countryside at 11 p.m. and waited with the car running for an hour when suddenly they saw a light that looked like an old-fashioned steam train light with a red light bobbing in front of it. They waited and watched for the train to come closer to them for 2 hours, but it never came closer. They decided to drive towards the train and lantern lights. Then all of a sudden it disappeared, and when they turned around, the lights had reappeared behind them. The mayor of St. Louis and his brother decided to try out the myth. They decided to walk the abandoned tracks. A train light appeared behind them that was so bright and so close that the light behind them made shadows of their bodies in front of them. When they turned around to look at the light, it disappeared. The phenomenon has appeared in documentaries, newspapers, magazines, books, YouTube. The Canadian Mint created a Haunted Canada stamp and coin collection in 2015. The St. Louis Ghost Train is part of that collection. Many professors, researchers from the Army, and from universities have all studied the phenomenon and have tried to explain it. A couple of grade 12 students named Alicia and Shannon researched the area in 2001 and 2002, making many trips. They used one's father's vehicle to position him and his headlights on different spots on the road and to flash his lights. When he was at the top of the hill, the lights resembled the ghost light. But recently, a 70-year-old woman stated that her grandmother told her stories about the ghost light long before automobiles were commonplace. The sighting started in 1920s. The Ford Model T hit mass production in 1913. If you try to drive around the area, the air will smell like burnt electric. The car stereos turn on and off. Windshield wipers might turn on and off. Headlights might blink. You might experience engine failure once a fire started in an alternator of a vehicle. If you do try to find the ghost light for yourselves, warnings include do not go alone, travel on foot, and don't lose your head. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Catherine, and this is Canadian Coffeehouse Crime, and this concludes Story 2 of the Haunted Canada Mint Stamp series. The next story will be the hauntings of Fort George from the Niagara Falls area. See you in the next case.